I like Adam Frazier, and I respect him, and I really did not like seeing him go. So that's going to make this episode not a whole lot of fun. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins that I hope you'll also check out. Frazier was signed by the Pirates yesterday to a 1-year major league deal worth $1.525 million. And you can say, hey, that's not much of a gamble. I'm all right with that. I remember him. He was good. At the time he was traded, he was probably at his career peak, which still somehow didn't allow Ben Cherington to get absolutely anything of value for him. But now, he's 33 years old. He's played for 4 different teams, including San Diego, the team that got him in that trade. And just now, in 2024, he batted .202 with a .282 on-base percentage, spanning 294 plate appearances. He had 4 home runs and 15 extra base hits. That's not him. Meaning that's not the version that you remember. And a lot like whoever that guy was they signed yesterday, the lefty reliever. Sorry, already forgot his name. You're giving out major league contracts and you're giving out 40-man roster spots. And you're giving that out in late January when rosters they're not being built. They're being finalized. They're getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Now, does this preclude the Pirates from going out and getting themselves, Mr. Superstar right fielder to show up and to pay him $1 gazillion? Well, no, but this is a sign, a strong sign, I'd suggest, that you didn't get who you wanted, presuming there was anybody at all that you wanted. And with the level of competitiveness of these people, I can't presume that they really wanted it all that badly. Here, listen to this for a second. This is the current 40-man roster. There are 6 outfielders on this list. I'm going to read you all 6 of their names. Andrew McCutchen, O'Neill Cruz, Josh Palacios, Brian Reynolds, Jack Sawinski, and Ji-Hwan Bae, who still exists, incidentally. Now, that's 6 guys. Kutch is not an outfielder, so we are at 5 guys. Frazier, as anyone can recall, can play a little bit of everything, so I'm only casting this in the outfield light because that's the clear and glaring need. So what you have in the outfield that's on the 40-man roster is, going left to right, is Reynolds, Cruz, and ... Because you don't know and I don't know what could happen with Sawinski, Palacios. I wouldn't even take Bae seriously at this point. And then what ends up happening is that you're signing Frazier to a major league contract, which, unless you've lost your mind, means that you'd be committing $1.5 million, which is a lot of dollars to those guys, to a player for whom you'd have no realistic spot over the course of the season. That's nonsensical beyond any nonsensical thing I think I've described about them in a while now. Because on top of adding players who likely can't help them or won't help them much, they're also burning money that they can't afford to burn based on what would appear to be a limited payroll, except that I know for a fact that it isn't. And so they're saving it for what? And you can say the same thing. You want to do the same thing with the infielders, at least as they're listed on the official 40-man. Okay, that's the way I'm going here. Tsung Che-chung is a prospect who had to be protected. Just doing these alphabetically. Billy Cook can play infield or outfield. Nick Gonzalez is almost certainly your second baseman. Ke'Bryan Hayes is your third baseman if healthy. Spencer Horwitz is your first baseman. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is your shortstop. That's your entire starting infield. Rest of these guys are Leo Verpagero, Jared Triolo, Emmanuel Valdez, Alika Williams, and Nick York. Which, if you account for Triolo's flexibility and his literal gold glove, what you're probably looking at, although it isn't reflected in this roster, is that Cook and York would be in some sort of competition mix for what's in the outfield. So where does Frazier fit in with all of this? Answer, he doesn't. So to graft him onto it, even while both your 40 and your theoretical 26 are filling up, that's coming real close to a white flag, my friends, on the right field front. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Before I get to today's J1Q, the reliever whose name I forgot in the first segment was Tim Meza. And I know you didn't care either, but, in the interest of completeness. From Phil, we have today's J1Q. DK, I have a serious question. You were told that the payroll would be $100 million. The current salary projection is $80 million, but the payroll for luxury tax purposes is projected to be $105 million. Could that be what they were talking about? No, Phil. And for anybody who doesn't know what Phil's asking about specifically there's a separate accounting of payroll for what's known in baseball as the competitive balance tax, or CBT. That figure is always higher because it takes into account other things. When you and I are talking about payroll, we're talking about just adding up the amount of money that was spent. Now, here's where we might be different, Phil. And I know this because it's interpreted pretty much universally the other way by everybody else. When I'm talking about payroll, when the teams are talking about payroll, they're talking about nothing other than the amount of money that is spent by the end of the season, not adding up the 26 salaries that take the field in Miami for opening day. That's what everyone else is going to do. And when the Pirates do that, everyone's going to go, look at that. Now, if that remains a really low figure, like 80, meaning it just stays that way all year long, meaning they have no injuries, they have nobody that they ever need to replace, they have no trades that get made, then that'll be one thing. That's not going to happen. They're going to get that number higher between now and opening day. I don't have any doubts about that. And not just because there are a couple of other salary figures to fit in there between Johan Oviedo and Dennis Santana in arbitration. But I could say this until I'm Clint Hurdle purple in the face. And you remember how Clint used to get. And it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make any indentation on the way the public thinks about the payroll. The payroll is the payroll, the amount that gets paid out. At our company and at every other company that I know, the payroll just means how much did you pay? That's why I'm always telling you that we don't know the payroll until you get to October. And that's also why I didn't discuss last year's payroll until we got to October. If the Pirates were to surprise people and be decent and add at the deadline, or even want to add at the deadline, the payroll could go up. If they're terrible, again, and they sell some pieces off, then the payroll would go down. And what would you be referencing then? What it was on opening day? Heck no. You'd want to give them full blame. You'd want to go at the actual payroll figure. But again, all that said, no, the context in which I was told this information had to do with standard 26-man payroll, the amount that actually gets paid out to active payroll over the course of the 2025 season. And they internally expect that to hit $100 million. We'll see. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.